In case you're new to this topic, Jesus' death by crucifixion is considered a fact of history by historical Jesus scholars and New Testament scholars, regardless of their theological background. The scholarly consensus on Jesus' death arises from one, having a variety of ancient sources reporting that Jesus was crucified, and two, knowing how crucifixion works. We have Christian, Jewish, and Roman sources reporting Jesus' execution, and our understanding of Roman crucifixion practices pretty well rules out any speculations about Jesus surviving his execution. Today, we tend to think of crucifixion as just nailing someone to a cross, but Roman crucifixion was a three-step process. The first step was the scourging, which was sometimes called the half death because victims would be half dead by the time just the beating was finished. The Romans used a flagrum made of leather thongs with chunks of bone or metal woven into the strands, which was designed to remove human flesh. We have records of people being beaten until their veins and arteries were exposed, or until their bones were showing, or until their intestines spilled out. And that was just the first step. Step two was nailing the victim to a cross and letting him hang there while the blood drained out of him. Once he stopped gasping for breath, the Romans knew their work was done. Almost. There was still the matter of what to do with the body. Generally, the Romans would leave a corpse on the cross and let it rot and be torn apart and eaten by wild birds and jackals. But if they needed to pry someone off a cross, they would stab him through the heart with a sword or a spear, some sort of death blow, just to make sure the person was dead. Not the sort of process anyone's going to walk away from. So Jesus' death isn't simply a point of Christian doctrine. This isn't just, the Jesus of faith type situation. It's a fact of history, as even non-Christian scholars are happy to admit. A couple of examples. Atheist New Testament scholar Gerd Ludemann declares that Jesus' death as a consequence of crucifixion is indisputable. John Dominic Crossan of the infamous Jesus Seminar says that there is not the slightest doubt about the fact of Jesus' crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. Marcus Borg, another member of the Jesus Seminar, states that Jesus' execution is the most certain fact about the historical Jesus. Jewish scholar Pinchas Lapid concludes that Jesus' death by crucifixion is, quote, historically certain. According to Paula Fredrickson, a convert to Judaism, the single most solid fact about Jesus' life is his death. He was executed by the Roman prefect Pilate on or around Passover in the manner Rome reserved particularly for political insurrectionists, namely crucifixion. And Bart Ehrman maintains one of the most certain facts of history is that Jesus was crucified on orders of the Roman prefect of Judea, Pontius Pilate. Notice that these non-Christian scholars and writers aren't simply saying that we have some evidence that Jesus died by crucifixion. They're saying it's indisputable, that it's historically certain, that it's one of the most certain facts of history. So I'll call the view that Jesus actually died by crucifixion realism. Call that realism. What people saw happen and what scholars are convinced happened really happened. It wasn't a trick or an illusion.